If you're moving to Pittsburgh, this video is going to be the ultimate relocation guide with years of experience helping people from all over the world move to Pittsburgh, navigate our areas, our market, and our housing. This video is going to be everything you need to know. I condensed it down to 4 different sections that I think will be crucial. Number 1, we're going to be discussing the roadways, the commute times. As you know, Pittsburgh's a city with a lot of bridges, a lot of tunnels. So we'll really be diving deep into what areas will be best if you are commuting and really how the roadways and all of that works. Number 2, we'll be talking about the best areas to live. So there I want to really break down where we're seeing people move the most, along with pullupniche.com's 2024 list, which includes city neighborhoods and suburbs, and break those areas down for you guys to give you a way better understanding. Number 3, we'll be discussing pros and cons. So we'll talk about pros and cons of some of these areas, along with just general pros and cons of Pittsburgh that I think will be important for you to know. And lastly, we'll be talking about the cost of living. Now, what I really want to do there is break down taxes. So taxes vary very greatly in Pittsburgh. You could be in one area and 5 minutes away, you have significantly different taxes. So I want to break down exactly how the property taxes work, along with Social Security, income tax, and all of that good stuff. And we're getting started right now. So what I really want to do is start with downtown Pittsburgh, and if you are commuting here, which we do have a lot of people coming that commute to downtown for work, of course, you have a lot of universities, a lot of hospitals, and a lot of tech. So a lot of people are coming here to commute to downtown Pittsburgh. So right off the bat, I'm going to give you the worst commutes to downtown Pittsburgh. That's going to be the Parkway West and the Parkway East. Now, the reason these get backed up primarily is due to the tunnels. So you have the Squirrel Hill Tunnel in the east. You have the Fort Pitt tunnels here in the west. And I couldn't tell you what goes through people's minds, but whenever they go through the tunnels, they tend to slow down beforehand, and that causes a very large backup in traffic. Once you're through the tunnels, you're flying, right? But before you get there, you're going to be standing still for at least 10, 20 minutes. I would say these are equally as bad. And let me just say, I've had people that I know, not anybody who relocated here because I saved them from this, that literally might live here in Murraysville, right? But they might work here in McDonald or here in Robinson. That is the absolute worst commute you could do. You're going through 2 of the major tunnels. You never want to go through 2, okay? 1 is a different story. 2 tunnels just for your daily commute there and back. Absolutely horrible. And you're going to be spending a lot of time standing still in the car, which you could have avoided. There's many nice places east and west where you could live to be strategic and not have to cross over many tunnels, many rivers, and go through all of that just to get to work. So you really want to determine where you will be commuting, and that's going to play a very large role in the areas where you'll be living. So we have 3 tunnels, which is the Liberty Tunnel, which is coming from south. You have the Squirrel Hill Tunnel, which is coming from east, and then the Fort Pitt tunnels coming from the west. The good thing about the North Hills is there is no tunnel. So this is it is the best commute into the city of Pittsburgh. And what they recently did was open the Parkway on the north. So that wasn't always there, but now you have I-279, which really reduced the commute time from like Cranberry Township and all of these areas that are in Butler County down from like 45 minutes to 25 minutes. So basically cut in half, which definitely did incentivize a lot of people from the North Hills to move up that way, not only because of the quicker commute, but there's just more land up this way. And it is a different county than Allegheny, so taxes are a different story there, but we'll get into that later. Now, Pittsburgh is a city that you could tell was not meant for cars. It is built in between very windy roads. You have very sharp turns. You have lots of hills, right? Very steep hills, which that's something that my clients tell me all the time is they didn't realize how hilly Pittsburgh actually is. It's a hilly city, so you'll definitely want to get accustomed to the driving here. And I would say the worst absolute part of our driving is going to be the merging. Now, the merging is really awful on the Fort Pitt tunnels. And the reason being is you have about 4 lanes. And right when you enter onto this Fort Pitt bridge, you could have the option to enter into the tunnel or exit. And you have about 4 seconds to decide between 4 lanes. And if you're coming from the right lane and you need to get over all the way to the left, but you have like everyone else having to cross over to the right. So it's just a big mess with everyone having a few seconds to make this move, or they're going to add 20 minutes to their commute time. So it's really like imperative that you understand the Fort Pitt tunnels, the Fort Pitt bridge, and you could navigate Pittsburgh with some ease at first, because it will get confusing and it will get frustrating. And drivers are pretty aggressive, and I think maybe they're angry because they don't understand the roads, but it's something that you really want to keep in mind, especially with these commutes. Now, I would say if you are living somewhere in one of these sections, you have the North Hills, you have the South Hills, you have the West End, and then you have the East End. If you're working in the East End, you might want to live somewhere in the East. Pretty simple. If you're working in the South, you might want to stay that way. If you are working in downtown, a lot of my people love these suburbs up this way, which we'll be discussing the areas here momentarily. And then if you are working in the West, many nice suburbs, Robinson, Moon Township, all of those good ones. So you might want to stay towards this way. But once you have to cross a river, cross a bridge, things could get a little bit ugly in Pittsburgh. So in Pittsburgh, you're going to hear people refer to the roads as parkways, and a parkway is basically a limited access road that's multi-lane. So you have Parkway North, which is the newest one, and then you have Parkway West, which is right here, and Parkway East. No Parkway South, but the South does have the T-line, which is the transit that takes you from the suburbs into the city. That's the only suburb that actually utilizes this, and it's a big advantage because you see the South Hills. These are more of the trolley suburbs, so these are older. Now, the North Hills are more of the newer suburbs, so a lot more car dependent. But you definitely have some walkable areas here in the South Hills. And what's nice is it's more condensed. It kind of feels like a city suburb. And then you also have people that don't want to drive or don't have access to a car and actually live here in the South Hills, take the T down to work, down to a game, down to a concert, or whatever the purpose is, and really utilize that T-line. Although they don't get a parkway, they do have the T-line, so that's their unfair advantage. The western section of 376 is Parkway West. The eastern section of 376 is Parkway East. Parkway West inbound is traveling east into the city, where Parkway West outbound is traveling west outside of the city. A pro tip: navigating in downtown Pittsburgh, I don't know anybody that's navigated in downtown Pittsburgh without a GPS that hasn't got lost at least one time. I am guilty as charged. The signs are confusing. The roads are extremely confusing. You'll pull on one road and it'll be a one-way the opposite direction. So it's very important that you just get an understanding of the roads, drive very slow, be careful. And if you do have an out-of-state license plate, I tend to see that people do treat you a little with more grace. But if you're a Pittsburgher, you have the Pennsylvania license plate, people will be aggressive on the roads. And you would think that after all these years and everyone knowing how difficult it is to first navigate around, people will be a little more lenient, but we do have some aggressive drivers. So I would say like downtown's probably the worst I've experienced driving. Once you get into the East End, it's a lot less congested. The roads are a lot more easy to understand, but really this section here is where the confusion a lot of times takes place. So here in Pittsburgh, we also do have a beltway system. Now, our beltway system is not like other cities where it's actually built out. We actually just utilize the existing roads for the beltway system. I wouldn't say many people follow it, but if you ever are driving and see like yellow belt, red belt, then you know that that's the beltway system. We'll put an infographic up here on the screen, and we'll also link down in this description below so that you guys could access that beltway system if you need it. We're not going to go into every single color, and because it is color coded, fun fact, actually by the rainbow colors. But we'll link that below in case you guys want to look further into that beltway system, which basically will help you avoid going downtown to Pittsburgh. Another great resource is downtownpittsburgh.com. If you go to the getting around section there, you'll see things such as recommended routes for getting in and out of downtown, your public transit, your bike lanes, and all of that information, which has been extremely helpful. A lot of clients have utilized that. So we'll link that into the description below so you could check that out. A few more things about our roads is we do have some very narrow roads here. Like I said, very hilly city. And if there's like an accident or construction going on, especially on the parkway, then that could definitely put a large damper in your commute, especially because they're limited access highways. So there's really not much you could do except tough it through and go through the one lane because they usually cut one lane off. So when there is an accident or a hazard, then it really is awful on the parkways, and any Pittsburgher will definitely agree with that. And all of this, the tunnels, the bridges, the traffic, this will definitely dictate your commute. And that's what we could really go more into one-on-one. That's what we pull up the maps, we find out where you're working, and from that point we could kind of give you the best options depending on what you're looking for lifestyle-wise, city versus suburbs, school districts, but also really that commute and what's going to make the most sense for you. And real quick, before we get into the best area section, I need you to comment down below where you guys are coming from. We have a lot of people coming from all different states, some even outside of the United States. So it's really, really awesome to hear where you guys are coming from. I'm super curious, so comment down below. So now we get to talk about the best areas to live and where we see people living. Now, we can't steer in any way as real estate professionals, but we can go through the lists that are curated through the public websites such as niche.com, which I tend to find that clients really like niche.com. The review section, the school ratings, and all of that seems super accurate. So I think it's definitely a good resource. And just a fun fact, I think the CEO of niche.com actually became niche.com here in Pittsburgh. So likely that they know the areas a little bit better than maybe even some areas outside of the state. So we're going to look at the first area they have ranked as the best place to live in the Pittsburgh area, and this is actually Aspinwall. Now, we have not talked about Aspinwall in any of our videos, I don't think, yet. There's so many areas to cover. It's going to be a lifelong project of mine, but Aspinwall is a great little section because look how close it is to the city. Like, for context, these are very popular neighborhoods, which is Lawrenceville, you have Highland Park, and you're literally a bridge away. So my friend actually lives right in Sharpsburg, and she loves the quick access to Fox Chapel. This is the Fox Chapel area up here. Aspinwall and Sharpsburg are both part of the Fox Chapel School District. Now, this is a suburb, but being that it's so close to the city and it's a suburb is pretty rare, especially being that it has a walkable and compact feel to it, where most of our suburbs are pretty sprawled out, right? They're not super walkable unless you're in like the South Hills. There's a few suburbs that are more walkable there. But other than that, walkable suburbs are pretty rare. We're actually thinking about doing a video on walkable suburbs. So comment down below if you're looking for walkability and if that would be helpful for you guys. But Aspinwall, people like it because it's community oriented, very close to the city, tons of events, tons of high-end restaurants, boutiques, and lots of different good businesses. It's in Fox Chapel School District. You're escaping like the Pittsburgh public schools. You're getting into Fox Chapel District. And on top of that, you actually have like the Waterworks Shopping Center. So more suburban amenities along with like the compact, small, tight businesses. So it's kind of that best of both worlds. You have like the riverfront trail. You have a lot of fun things like right in this area. And I would say people like it for the convenience and the fact that you also are escaping like Pittsburgh city transfer taxes, which would be 3% if you're purchasing in the city of Pittsburgh, but only like a half of a percent for Aspinwall. And that's off of the entire purchase price of the house. So if you are looking to purchase and then sell pretty quickly, 3%, 6% in the city does add up compared to just 0.5% here, which would be if you're buying and selling a total of 1%. So there are some advantages of being like right outside of that city limit, but still with good access. And we did just do a video on Fox Chapel. Now we didn't put Aspinwall in there, but we did put the Fox Chapel area, which is all right here. So we'll link that in the description below if you wanted to check kind of more out about this area in the school district. Now, I would say Aspinwall is actually pretty similar to Mount Lebanon, and Mount Lebanon is in our South Hills. I'm assuming it's going to be on this list because Mount Lebanon's a very popular option. They're mainly known for the school district, Mount Lebanon District, lots of elementary schools that are highly rated in that area, and then you have 2 business districts, which you have like Mediterra Cafe on Beverly Road, ice cream shops, again, different boutiques, but then like it's that city business, but then you also have the Galleria Mall, which is more like home stores, dining. You have like Mitchell's Fish Market, you have Panera Bread, different just like jewelers, get your nails done. It's more of a suburban mall. And then you have Trader Joe's, and then up the road, right on the border between Mount Lebanon and Upper St. Clair, you actually have Whole Foods, and you have the whole South Hills Village Mall. So Mount Lebanon, charming architecture. It's walkable. It's literally like that perfect Hallmark suburb. Old growth trees, some really huge mansions, again, with some tight-knit properties that are really cute, mainly all brick. Area definitely has a lot of parks, a lot of character, and the city and the borough does a fantastic job of maintaining everything and making it kind of just a friendly environment with tons of different events, farmers markets, and it's just very interactive. So if someone says, I'm looking for like, I've had clients say this, I'm looking for a place where my kids are trick-or-treating on Halloween and it's full of young kids, full of life, and just has that old school feel to it. And I would definitely recommend Mount Lebanon for that. And we actually did a vlog tour on Mount Lebanon a few months back, so we'll link that in the description below if you guys wanted to check more out about that area specifically. In home value, around $367,000 here in Aspinwall. Here's kind of the border, so you can see you have like that riverfront park there and just a few streets. It's not that big of a suburb, and then you're actually right next to the Waterworks Mall and UPMC. So yeah, great location, excellent homes, some beautiful, some of the most beautiful architecture I've seen. And then I look here in Fairview Elementary, which is a very highly rated district for elementary schools. And number 2, they have, number 3 is Mount Lebanon, so we just covered that. But number 2 is Franklin Park. So this is a lot different than the first one and the third one that we just discussed. This one is in our this one is in our North Hills. So this is actually part of North Allegheny School District, ranked one of the top, I think actually number 1 in the whole entire state. So you have North Park, which is a huge drawer to the North Hills in general, because it's not your average park. I mean, you have a huge man-made lake, Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's a massive park. I mean, thousands of acres. You have like different ice cream shops in it, bicycle cafes, kayaking. You could really do fishing, like anything you could think of is in North Park, and it's a great asset to the overall area, and it's the county's largest park. But besides the school, the park, you're also going to get brand new construction in Franklin Park, or just homes that have been built by custom builders. Very nice communities, shadowed by old growth trees and just mega square footage in Franklin Park. These homes are massive. These homes are built quality by quality builders and just very customized. So if you're looking for more of like an escape from the city, with only being about 20 minutes to the city, then Franklin Park's an excellent option. And really, Wexford's actually made up of 4 different municipalities. So you have Franklin Park, McCandless, Pine Township, and Marshall Township, and that makes up Wexford. Now, each of these little municipalities are pretty different. So we actually just did a video on Wexford. We'll put that in the description if you want to look further into that. But each of them feel a little bit different. Some of them are more forested. Some of them are more like you're spread apart from your neighbors. You're all alone, and maybe some older housing inventory. And then the others, you're going to be right next to the shopping center where you can literally walk there with brand new construction taking place. So Wexford is an extremely popular section. So Franklin Park, let's dive a little bit deeper. So they have around 15,000 people. You are in Allegheny County. Definitely really good businesses all throughout the Wexford area. Like you have your Whole Foods, you have your Trader Joe's, you have tons of different groceries. And then you're also next to Sewickley, which is pretty prestigious. You have lots of spas, places for massages, high-end sushi, and different things like that. So definitely a good little section here. Household income here is around $158,000. And what I really like to do is go into the reviews. Now, obviously, reviews are subjective to the person. It's not 100% going to be accurate, but it's good to get a little more insight into the area, what could be good and bad about it. As you can see, it's very clean. School districts are amazing. Pool and golf course area, very clean, very green, but it's not walkable. So unlike the others we just talked about, definitely not walkable. It's definitely more suburban. But Franklin Park, excellent option. We see a lot of our clients actually choose to go up to North Allegheny School District, especially it seems like if their kids are playing sports, a lot of people like that area because it's a big district too. So you're getting really good sports, clubs, programs, maybe not as much one-on-one attention compared to something like Allison Park, Pine Township School District, things that are a little less large, but you're getting a tremendous district. And the housing inventory, like I said, mega square footage and very secluded old growth trees. So definitely a good area that we see people loving, especially in the North Hills. But what I could say is it might dictate some things when you look at those taxes compared to maybe 10 to 15 minutes up the road in Mars and Cranberry, where taxes might be literally cut in half. And we'll talk about that whenever we get to the cost of living. Next on the list, we have Upper St. Clair. Okay, so we also have a video on this one if you want to look further into it, but this is actually in our South Hills. This is close to Mount Lebanon, so it's a little further outside of Mount Lebanon, further outside of the city, meaning you're about 30 minutes from downtown and good amenities. So we won't go too in depth about Upper St. Clair, but what I find people tend to like about this area is there's larger lots. It seems a little more sprawled out, definitely more upscale. I mean, housing and the taxes are pretty pricey here, but for good reason. The Upper St. Clair School District is a very popular option for a lot of families. And the area, again, you have like the South Hills Village Mall, which pretty similar to Mount Lebanon, right? Because you're not too far away. And you also have access to Peters Township amenities, which is actually in Washington County. But Upper St. Clair is in Allegheny County. So it looks like they have a population of just under 20,000 people. It's rated one of the best places to live in Pennsylvania, has the sparse suburban feel, and most residents own their home. And there are a lot of retirees in this area, but also a lot of families. Now it's saying the median home value is $295,000. it doesn't seem right. I could say that. I saw a lot of properties in Upper St. Clair, and I'm thinking you're more looking at around $400,000 starting point, especially if you're getting something move-in ready. There's definitely some options in the $300,000 range, but just not as quality, and a lot of times you might need to put some money into it if you're getting it at a lower price point. If you want a better district, a better municipality, a lot of times you're going to pay for that in taxes, but definitely worth it to a lot of families that have moved there. They do have beautiful mansions, again, absolutely stunning homes, some of the best homes I've seen. Huge lots. Architecture is a wide range, but it's more like your traditional. We have a lot of colonial in this area. Very suburban feeling, not walkable whatsoever. Saying the average household income's around $128,000. Now, like I said, I wouldn't go like word for word on everything here. I would say take it kind of not with a grain of salt, but definitely contact a professional, that someone that knows this market, works in these areas day by day. You don't want to read blog posts and go online and get all of your resources from there, because we've had people do that and then call us afterwards like, hey, I moved to Pittsburgh last year. We moved to the wrong location. We didn't really get much guidance from a relocation expert, but kind of just went with like a local agent, and they really didn't do much on guiding us on different areas and really digging into what they're looking for and what their long-term plan is as well, or short-term plan. So like I said, you definitely want to contact someone that's in relocation, that knows these areas, covers the whole entire area, and not just maybe someone that you found online, like locally for that area specifically. So if you go through some reviews here, prettiest suburbs, recreation center. That's a good point. I didn't bring that up. Lots of parks, schools, facilities, A plus, great place to raise a family, someone said. And I'm either like, when I get calls on Upper St. Clair or I'm directing someone in this area, it's usually a retiree or a family that's looking for kind of a quiet and quaint upscale lifestyle. This person says, I wish there were more things to do. See, now that depends on your age and what you're looking for. Like if you want to have like nightlife or something, then you want to go into the city or maybe live in a suburb that's right outside of the city. But Upper St. Clair is very suburban, and yeah, there isn't much in terms of like bars and different things, but they do have tennis courts and golfing and good access, not far away from shopping malls and different things like that. And yeah, cost of living is reasonable compared to other places in the United States. Maybe like it's one of the more expensive suburbs in Pittsburgh, but not when you're comparing United States. Like people, especially people coming from more expensive areas like Washington, D.C., New York City, some of these major cities, they are grateful, extremely grateful in what they could actually get and the quality of life they could get in some of these suburbs, where they said it would be at least $1 million to get in where they're from. And for that, you're not getting a mansion. You're getting something you're putting money into. So they can't believe like the quality of like the upscaleness, the country clubs, the ratings on these school districts, what these people could get compared to where they're coming from is night and day. And they really, really love Pittsburgh for that reason. And I'm very happy to introduce them to it. I love what I do. This is truly very fulfilling. This person said taxes are extremely high. Okay, our next one is Fox Chapel. So we kind of discussed this when we were talking about Aspinwall, so I'm not going to go too in depth about Fox Chapel, but what's nice is that it is super close to the city. You have a country club, golf course, you have a marine, so lots of boating taking place here, lots of nice restaurants, and this area feels like literal farmland, and you're only about 15 minutes away from the city. Like, huge acreage, huge old mansions. It's definitely a historic area of Pittsburgh. You've had people like the Carnegies, the Hineses live here. So it's very charming. Not like super impressed with the overall shopping centers. I would say the South Hills and North Hills do a better job with having more like better grocery options and even just better places to eat. Fox Chapel has good convenience, but not what I would expect. It's mainly like fast food and different things, and it is the wealthiest suburb of Pittsburgh. So you would think that they're more up to speed, but not as much. We did just do a video on Fox Chapel, so I'll link that in the description. So you guys will be able to choose from like all of these areas we're going over and go more in depth, actually get community tours of it, which is very great if you never visited or you're not planning to visit in person. But looks like around 5,000 people, parks, restaurants, coffee shops, and lots of retirees. But I would say the main thing that separates Fox Chapel is really going to be the docking and the boats and then that country club. In Edgeworth. Okay, we didn't do a video in Edgeworth. We did one on the neighboring Sewickley, so I'll link that below. But this, like they said, upscale village lifestyle within a walkable 1 mile sidewalk radius. Our restaurants, cafes, coffee shops. I said before, lots of spas, lots of like, it's so cute. Sewickley and Edgeworth are the cutest. It's Quaker Valley School District, highly rated, and I think it's more of a condensed district compared to something like North Allegheny School. But this is also a hallmark town. You have large acreage, as you'll see in the video if you click on that. These houses are very old. They're historic and restored mansions. And it is like you see kids all the time with their book bags walking home from school. It's where you really just don't have to worry. It's like that community that you see on a Hallmark movie. Everyone knows each other by name. Everyone's so friendly, and all of the like shops and cafes are very nice, very upscale. Always like I'm gluten free, so always find gluten free things and just very good food. Like there's nothing really bad to say about Sewickley. It's an awesome place to live. And this is like bordering the river here. You do have lots of parks in this area. And let's see. So Edgeworth only has about 1,500 people. It definitely has that small town feel, but you could see the median home value is pretty expensive, around 700,000, which I would say even a little more than that, being that we do sell a lot of properties out this way too and help people kind of navigate this section. So coffee shops, ice cream pubs, boutiques, library, movie theater, cultural center, parks, YMCA. You do have your medical and dental facilities, liquor store, weekly farmers markets, and many seasonal holiday events, which I've been to. I'm telling you, it's just so community. Like Pittsburgh just has like this different like spirit to it. Christmas light up night, walks and more, very dog friendly with water bowls and treats outside of many shops. Very, very, very true. Mansions, schools are fantastic. My kids get to walk to school because they're so you'll always see that. Quaint residential neighborhood close to the town of Sewickley, 25 minutes from Pittsburgh. So yeah, this is something if you want that village style, you want a little bit smaller but very walkable, and also again, the school is a big driver, but even if you don't want the school and you kind of just want to utilize that area for yourself, whether you're a young professional, married, retiree, it's really good for anybody in any walk of life. So we're going to run through some others on this list. We're going to talk about city neighborhoods and also the surrounding counties outside of Allegheny County, why people choose these areas and what areas in these counties are they choosing. And then we'll go into pros and cons and then cost of living. But first, we really do enjoy when you guys reach out to us and we could go more in detail with you on what you're looking for. We could pull up the maps. We could go in depth on these housing markets, what areas are going to be best based on your budget, and of course, all of your criteria. So the only way we could really do that and help you, as we've helped hundreds of other people navigate our market, is if you contact us. If you write down the number, we'll have it here on the screen, but also in the description below. Write it down at any time, text us, book a call with us, and we'll go a lot more in depth with you and really help you with your move and purchase to Pittsburgh. You're one call away from your dream home and neighborhood. So let's get back into the video here. Okay, Marshall Township. So this is the part of Wexford, which we previously discussed. So that's North Hills. Again, North Allegheny School, Bradford Woods. This is actually like a small section that is in between Wexford. So pretty similar to that. All of these are very popular options. We could attest we've had many clients consider and choose these areas. O'Hara Township's actually part of Fox Chapel School District. So what you'll find in O'Hara is definitely just more affordable properties, definitely compared to Fox Chapel, but you still get to utilize that school district. So overall, look close to Aspinwall Waterworks. So pretty much the same as Aspinwall, just not as walkable. And now this is when we get to go into some city neighborhoods. Finally, some are popping up. And before we do that, since we're on the suburbs, let's just... there's so many suburbs we didn't even talk about that's not on this list. So let me pull up the map and kind of walk you guys through some more suburb sections and then the outside county. We're here in the maps. Now, the ones we mainly talked about were kind of in this section and down in this section. We didn't, and up here too. So we didn't really touch base on anything east, anything west, and we kind of missed out on a lot of these that weren't on the list. And this is why we tell you guys to reach out to us as well, because it definitely depends on specifically what you're looking for in order to narrow all of these areas down. Now, to give you some context, we didn't even talk about any city neighborhoods, and there's 90 city neighborhoods, and they're all extremely different, advantages to all of them. So let's just kind of go over the basis where I see a lot of people choose. Again, we're back here in the North Hills, but Gibsonia, we're actually going to be doing a new construction tour on this area. There is a lot of new builds. There's a lot of prestigious, beautiful mansions. And we've talked a lot about nice areas, but even like Ross Township here. So we see a lot of people choose this area for housing affordability. Still really nice communities. McKnight Road runs right along here, and it's only a 15-minute commute to downtown Pittsburgh. What's nice about Ross Township, you have Ross Township Mall, but like McKnight Road is actually packed with groceries, Marshalls, convenience stores. You wouldn't have to leave that suburb, and then you have direct access to McCandless, which kind of has the better groceries, and up near that Wexford area. So Ross Township, you could typically get in like even in the higher 200,000s, which is rare for all the surrounding areas of Ross Township. So definitely a good area for housing affordability, and that is North Hills School District, which is very well rated. I wouldn't say it's as high as North Allegheny or some of the other ones we discussed, but definitely a good option. Now you come down here, Bethel Park is a very popular option, and I would say out of the South Hills, Bethel Park isn't walkable whatsoever, but it does have more affordable properties. So if you're looking at like these two areas, I would say the Bethel Park is kind of like the Ross Township of the South Hills. So Bethel has some really awesome homes. You have Burn Boot Camp in Bethel, some really cool businesses, Bethel Bakery. So it definitely has some character to it, but it's more of your typical suburban neighborhood. And then if you go down to South Park, and Bethel Park's a blue ribbon school district. If you go down to South Park here, this is feeling more rural. You're further away from the city, probably about 30 minutes. But again, you have a lot more affordability compared to some of these neighborhoods like Mount Lebanon and Upper St. Clair. It just has that more rural feel, and it's still in Allegheny County. But coming towards then you have Murraysville, and we have videos on a lot of these on our channel, so we'll link anything we can in the description below. Murraysville is actually in Westmoreland County, so this is not in Allegheny. And then we have, we'll kind of draw a map here because this is kind of where the border ends. This would be like my best guess here. I think I did actually very well. So this would be Allegheny County inside. Outside, it's Westmoreland on this side. So a lot of people like Irwin in Westmoreland County. And the reason people are choosing like outside of Allegheny a lot of times is the taxes. Now, not only are the property taxes a lot different, so if you are looking at, say, Monroeville compared to Murraysville, you're going to see significant difference in taxes, but not as significant as you would be comparing North Hills to, say, Mars or even Cranberry. It's not like Cranberry has the cheapest taxes, but definitely cheaper than the North Hills. And like I said, once they opened that interchange, it incentivized a lot of people to move up this way. More land, more new construction, and cheaper taxes. And Cranberry Township, I mean, this area is developing crazy. Not only is there tons of residential new construction, whether you're looking for a townhome or a single family home, but there is tons of commercial tons of just commercial buildings and commercial shopping centers mainly. Tons of Sam's Club, Costco, Walmart, all of your conveniences are in this area. You have some really good builders like Infinity, Charter Homes, and some unique communities. We see a ton of people going to Cranberry, and I love Cranberry myself. And then Mars is up this way too, which is Mars School District and is booming with new construction. I would say Mars is more up and coming compared to Cranberry. I feel like Cranberry was up and coming, but then it got like overdeveloped, that people started going like more towards Mars and even further out, including some builders. And then you have Murraysville, very good for land, very good for peaceful, quiet, brand new like Westmoreland Heritage Trail for biking and walking. So definitely very nature friendly. Along with Irwin. Irwin's going to be more affordable than Murraysville, but it's still with school districts. These are both really toply rated. And then these are kind of further out. So like Latrobe, you might be like an hour away from Pittsburgh, Mount Pleasant, about an hour. So we won't go that far out. Cannonsburg, now this in Cecil Township, this will all be part of Cannon Mac School District. This area has really been appreciating and growing, and I would say is very up and coming. Tons of new construction again developed all throughout even Peters Township, which is right around here as well. You have a variety of different new construction builders, and you have like farmers markets, you have Trex farms, like actual farms, and then you also have your typical shopping centers in the suburbs. So again, it's best of both worlds, but the further out you're going to get, it's going to be more rural. You're going to have more options for new construction, and you're going to have cheaper taxes. And we'll talk about we'll give you a real life example of a tax comparison from this area up into Mars, because it's crazy. And just wait, I would say 10 minutes. You have Plum, which has a good school system. Now, I'm talking mainly about schools because not only maybe you don't have kids, maybe you aren't planning to, but the school district does drive the appreciation for the areas a lot. Western Pennsylvania mainly is ran by school districts. So we have a lot of people coming here for school districts, and it seems like where they're putting the school districts, they're putting the new construction homes, they're putting the better shopping centers, they're putting the better businesses. So school districts always going to drive up appreciation. Think about it. If you bought a home in maybe a worse school district, over time, that might not appreciate as steadily as somewhere with a good school district, because there's no influx of people. There's no big reason for people to move in there. So just giving you guys the best areas for growth, appreciation, long-term outlook, along with where you're going to find the best amenities. Carnegie is one that is right outside of the city. It has its own little shopping street, and with different restaurants and everything like that. And the housing is really affordable. They do have a few new builds, but it's mainly older, kind of blue-collared industrial area. And then Bridgeville is right outside of this, which is an area that's very up and coming. We also have a video on that I'll link below. Bridgeville is a mix of industrial, but it's becoming brand new. So you have a lot of new development going on. School districts, Chartiers Valley, so it's highly rated, and you just see a lot of growth in that area, along with South Fayette. So I would say Washington County, and then even the west side of Pittsburgh has really seen significant appreciation and growth in the past few years. Moon Township, that's up next to the airport, and I just had a client actually bring Moon up to me, and they said that they really liked how open it was, the open land. And a bonus is the housing is pretty affordable in Moon. You could get something nice move-in ready without even touching $350. So Moon Township is a good option if you kind of like that open land, and a bonus if you have to be next to the airport. And they really like the Robinson Shopping Center, which again, it's packed with dozens and dozens and dozens of things. But I mean, that's pretty much a good overview of the surrounding counties. Like this is Washington. This is Washington, this is Butler, this is Westmoreland, and then you have Fayette County. All right, into some city neighborhoods. So this is the first one we see on the list. Now, this is Squirrel Hill, our largest city neighborhood, our most diverse city neighborhood, and it is in between two of the city's largest parks, which is going to be Frick Park and Shenley Park. So Squirrel Hill North and Squirrel Hill South, it's all part of Squirrel Hill, just two separate sections. But people typically see it as one. The main difference is Squirrel Hill North is more expensive. You have more expensive properties compared to Squirrel Hill South, and it's more sprawled apart, more suburban feeling, where Squirrel Hill South feels a little bit tighter, more congested, and you're a little bit closer to the business districts. So it's a little more noisy and a little more street parking compared to Squirrel Hill North, where you're having like cul-de-sac neighborhoods that are very quiet and very sprawled out. So that's the main difference. And Squirrel Hill North is closer to Shady Side, so you do have quicker access to like Walnut Street and some better city amenities. So North has a population of just under 12,000 people. Best places to live in Pennsylvania. Now, if you've done research online on blog posts, you're definitely going to see Squirrel Hill pop up as a popular city neighborhood. So you have around 600,000, but I would say it's even more than that. Like we've had clients who come to this area, even if they don't want Pittsburgh public schools, they go into the private school districts in this area. And they definitely have found some good elementary schools too. As this person said, there's no like dividing lines at Forbes Avenue. It's just a designation for real estate purposes. The entire neighborhood is Squirrel Hill. So people really don't see them as two different neighborhoods. Now, northern part has bigger lots and more single-family homes. It's leafy, great neighborhood park, easy access to Oakland, great neighborhood business district along Forbes and Murray, which Forbes and Murray is like the heart of Squirrel Hill. You have people playing the trumpet, violin, people stopping you. It's very vibrant. It's very full of life, and you have really unique food options, cuisine from all over the world. Lots of Asian places, like lots of matcha, always new food popping up, which I absolutely love trying new things. This area is really good for that, and it's really authentic food too. Property taxes, and it's one of the communities too where everyone is tight-knit. Feels like a small town, small community, even though there is a lot of people there. And universities, that's a good point. So you have Carnegie Mellon close by, Chatham, University of Pitt. So it's a lot of students gravitate towards this area, whether they're renting or they end up purchasing. And we do have a lot of families who move here because their kids going to school and they're retired from their job, or they can work remotely and want to be close to their kids. And then Squirrel Hill South, it's pretty much the same, but I would say it's, like I said, just more compact, closer together. Let's see what other city neighborhoods they have on here. So Point Breeze, this is in the East End, just as Squirrel Hill is. I would say it's a little more park-like because you're like intertwined with Frick Park. I've had a few clients live here, and I always check in with my clients to make sure like they're liking the area, any questions I could answer for them. And anyone who has chosen Point Breeze absolutely loves it. Afterwards, they're like, thank you so much for showing me this area, because a lot of times they're nature-focused people, and it's very secluded. You could actually walk out of your house and be at the like front of Frick Park. So you don't even have to drive in order to get to the largest park of the city. And it's perfect for your morning walks, walking your dog, old growth trees throughout, historic homes, and very like notorious streets with beautiful homes. Everyone comes together. It's definitely a dog lover's paradise. Yep. So we'll click on this. And just for some context, you're about right here, because this is Squirrel Hill, Shady Side, Point Breeze is about right here. And you could see the East End is the largest like section of our city neighborhoods. And the East End's also, I would say, the most livable, as a lot of these communities are walkable to groceries and your everyday needs. Where if you live in downtown Pittsburgh, it's not it's a walkable neighborhood, yes, but you don't have groceries, you don't have things you would be visiting on a daily basis. It's mainly like steakhouses and bars and restaurants, not your groceries, not your like cozy coffee shops. That's more going to be found in these neighborhoods. So we do see, like, instead of people choosing to live downtown, they choose one of these city neighborhoods. Overall livable aspect. But if people do choose downtown, it's typically in a condo or in the Strip District, which has blown up in the past few years. Lots of new developments taking place. It's mainly known for, like, they have puttery, the mini golf where you could get food and drinks. And then you also have like different wineries in the Strip. You have lots of seafood and fresh food markets. And if you walk it on the weekends, you have people serving like chicken on a stick, Stiller's gear, and it is like Pittsburgh 101, the Strip District. Really awesome place. You have like very unique businesses that you're not going to find anywhere else. My friends always like to go down to the Strip District. I love the Strip District too. It's one of my favorites just because of the wide variety of things. It's very walkable. And if you're looking at living there, they do have really high-end condos, lots of rooftops, high-end gyms in your building itself. Prices are pretty high, so you're looking at like over $500,000 or around that, depending on the building and everything that entails. We could go deeper into one-on-one. But to give you guys a better understanding, people do typically choose to live in like city neighborhood. So we're here at Point Breeze. Yeah, I would say main thing about, looks like not 60% owned, 40% rent, according to niche.com, of course. So it was actually ranked the second best neighborhood to raise a family in Pittsburgh, third best neighborhood to live in Pittsburgh. Even though it's close to everything, having 2 parks close makes it dog lover's paradise. Walk to a few restaurants, close to Chatham University and Shadyside. Walking distance from Bakery Square, which is basically like Pittsburgh's tech center. That's where the Google is. You have a lot of things right in Bakery Square. Lots of new restaurants popping up in that way, and like waterfalls. Very cute atmosphere. Point Breeze. It's a place where kindness is valued. Neighbors do whatever it's possible to assist each other. Playground across the street. Kids, friends, artistic people. It definitely is. Definitely lots of artistic people. Murals on the houses and people's garage. I have seen that. Yeah, so Point Breeze overall, it's a good choice. Regent Square, that's a city neighborhood. I don't want to talk too much. People always say I talk a lot about the East End, and it's because most people move to the East End. Now, Regent Square, that's where you're going to find more affordability. It's actually on the other side of Frick Park, so it's not too far away from Point Breeze. A little more affordable, a little more urban, and it's definitely walkable because you have like one business district there and then the park. And then Shadyside. You guys know I love Shadyside. Walnut Street, South Aiken Avenue, Ellsworth Avenue, 3 different business districts that are all very impressive. Upscale, trendy feel, like Lululemon, Kendra Scott, coffee shops, tons of coffee shops. Right next to Squirrel Hill, actually, but the overall area of Shadyside, beautiful mansions. What's really nice about it in the city is you have lots of yard space. It almost feels like a suburb in the city. Universities are nearby, of course. Sidewalks all throughout. You have the most bus lines out of any other city neighborhood. And it is oldie, like you could walk to all your groceries. If you're coming without a car, Shadyside should definitely be on your list. I will say it is one of the more expensive neighborhoods, probably one of the most expensive. Real estate options here are truly wonderful. A lot of people rent. Now, that might have to do with the home prices being more expensive, or also just a lot of college students. Yeah, so Shadyside does have like nightlife, but it's not like your crazy nightlife. I would say that's more in Lawrenceville now. The South Side has really crazy nightlife, maybe a little too crazy. There's just always a lot of college kids and always lots of cops around Southside during the weekends. It's very rowdy. But Shadyside has a good balance of just like upscaleness and nightlife. Greenfield, next to Squirrel Hill, a lot better for affordability. So if you want access to Squirrel Hill and beautiful views, you have high hills where you could see the whole entire city, but definitely a more affordable comparable of Squirrel Hill and Shadyside. Dormont's not in the city, but that's, I would say, an affordable alternative to Mount Lebanon. Seven Fields is up next to Cranberry Township. And then Mount Washington. So this is south of the city. Mount Washington it's known for its overlook pods in Grandview Avenue. It's said to have like the panoramic views of Pittsburgh. It's probably the best views in Pittsburgh. They're actually, Infinity Custom Homes is building a townhome community with rooftops on top of it. And these townhomes are stunning. Like, no detail was left out. Definitely an entertainer's paradise, especially with the rooftop in Mount Washington with the best views of the city. So that's going to be exciting to kind of take a look at those. But Mount Washington, not as like your everyday groceries and convenient in that way. And it is super hilly. It's on like you're on the top of Mount Washington. So coming down these hills can be a little bit crazy, especially in the winter. But overall, it's good for views. I would say it's better to visit than to live in. You do have a lot of college students living in that area and renting because it's super convenient to universities, especially with the incline. This is the area where you could ride the Duquesne and Monongahela incline down to like Station Square. So cool transportation methods, but it is hilly. And housing, not too expensive. It's actually overall pretty affordable compared to the others we talked about. And Highland Park is also in the East End. Now that is next to the zoo. You have one business district. So that is, I forget the street, I think it's called Bryant Street. A few shops, not much business, but it's more residential, quiet, park-like. And Friendships in the East End, it's actually like, it's so small, it's barely considered a neighborhood, but it's in between like Shadyside, Bloomfield, and all of those neighborhoods. And Bloomfield is our little Italy. It's definitely appreciated a lot over the years, and prices have really risen up, not, I would say, up close to like Squirrel Hill prices. And you do have Liberty Avenue in Bloomfield, but it feels a lot more city-like and dense and more like pizza shops and bars, like dive bars. And I think I did talk about Lawrenceville. Lawrenceville is the area that's been completely renovated over the past decade. It's the Brooklyn of New York, of Pittsburgh. And it has nightlife, it has candle labs, it has some of the best restaurants in the city. It's very walkable. You have parks and you're very close to downtown. And you do have access to like a riverfront trail and beautiful views and new construction in the city, which is pretty rare. Great bit of our city neighborhoods. So North Shore's here. Mexican War Streets is a very popular little section. We have a video on that. Millville, I would say, is up and coming. Very up and coming. Along with Troy Hill and Garfield, you're seeing a lot of renovations take place. A lot of the older properties, a lot of flippers and developers are coming in and redoing them in Garfield. As you could tell, it's surrounded by some top choices. East Liberty has completely been renovated now and is definitely up and coming. And then you have Beachview as well. So we have lots of different options to choose from. It all depends on exactly what you're looking for, and you guys could reach out for that. We'll get into some pros and cons quickly, and then we will end with the cost of living. So some pros of Pittsburgh: it's an affordable city. I hear it all of the time. This is one of the main reasons why people are moving here from other major cities. Number one, because of the affordability. Everywhere else is skyrocketing in prices, and Pittsburgh seems to find an affordable balance with housing affordability along with raising a family here. We have a lot of people from New York City that end up coming here to Pittsburgh because it's not only cheaper to raise a family, it's just more feasible than being in that big city environment. Pittsburgh is lots of parks. It's like a family-friendly city. It's just because it's a slower pace of life. It's not as many people. So that's what I hear all of the time, at least. And another pro about Pittsburgh is it's really reinventing itself. So it was a Rust Belt city. That's what it's known for, Still City. And now it's a tech hub, it's healthcare, it's robotics, it's financial services. It has a lot of potential, and a lot of people are bullish on Pittsburgh's market, including investor Barbara Corcoran. She actually took a lot of her money out of New York City and has begun investing in Pittsburgh. And we have a lot of out of state investors who have really followed suit to that and are buying up property left and right in our city neighborhoods and our suburbs. It's really good for investing. It meets that 1% rule. Prices are affordable while rents are pretty high, and you have nice and steady growth. It's not a up and down swing. It's pretty steady, which a lot of the Rust Belt region is, and they're actually the most durable during the times of housing recessions. We'll go into a con. I would say the infrastructure and construction. It's definitely an older city. It's hard to navigate around, like we spoke of. So the infrastructure here, as you can see, bridges were crumbling. Definitely needs a lot of work. We're an older city and they are working on it, which is a plus, but the con to that is there's construction all the time. So you never know when you're going to escape construction or run into it. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lifelong project, being that there's a lot of projects to continue to improve on since it's such an old city. Older homes. Okay, so there's a con with this because of the sewer lines and water issues, especially in the city. Now, a lot of the older homes in the city were built with sandstone foundations. Those are not the best for water resistance and keeping water out of your basement. So, like, even you'll see this in the north side a lot, Mexican War Streets, is a lot of people had issues with water coming into their basement, and wet basements are pretty much just a standard in Pittsburgh. But the good thing is you have sump pump systems, internal and external. You have French drains. You have a lot of ways to prevent water from coming in, and very efficient systems. So a lot of the homes we'll go into is we see sump pumps installed. We are checking the disclosures. We are making sure all of the systems are set up right, and making sure that even though they got that system in, that water still isn't coming in the property. So that's a big thing here that we keep an eye out for, along with sewer scope inspections, because a lot of our sewers are old. They're made out of terracotta, and we all know that rusts and that could crack. Tree roots could get lodged in there, and it's very, very important to get a sewer scope inspection in Pittsburgh, because if you don't, and what ends up happening is, if there's a problem, if there is, maybe there's not, but that could be an extremely expensive fix. I've seen them upward towards $16,000. So you want to make sure your inspections are in line. The most common inspections that I typically see buyers get: sewer scope, home inspection, pest, termite, and radon. So we could definitely go through this process more when we're going through property to property and talk more about inspections to get. But with older homes comes some older problems and things to be aware of. It's not a bad thing. We do have a lot of new construction, and we do have a lot of people who have upkept maintenance and maybe upgraded with the sump pumps, PVC piping, whatever it is, but something to be aware of. Another pro is the people. Now, we get a lot of people saying it feels like Southern hospitality here. We're Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, right? That's where he is from. So you have a lot of just neighborly, friendly people, no matter what area, no matter if you're in the city or the suburbs. The people here are truly amazing and authentic. So if you're a Pittsburgher, thank you for being great. Con, maybe it feels a little too industrial sometimes. It's not as glamorous or luxury as some other cities in some other places. There's not like a ton of like skyscrapers and buildings popping up like there is in Nashville. It's kind of your Rust Belt city that's just on the verge of all of that happening. And then you do have another pro, I would say, is the access to all of these great areas, the authenticity of Pittsburgh, and all of the school systems throughout. That's what a lot of our clients are moving here for, and having great rated schools in our suburbs and private options, city neighborhoods. It's truly a very great advantage and a very great bonus, especially if you plan on raising a family or you just plan on getting into an area that is outlooked to appreciate. What we've all been waiting for, the cost of living. So Pittsburgh, it was ranked the most affordable city to buy a home in the entire world, also the most livable city in America. So you have two really good, strong factors there, which brings in a lot of people, especially, like I said, coming from different major US cities. So our cost of living is actually 2% lower than the national average, and that's just like not housing, but that's everything. If you're taking in utilities, groceries, transportation, and all of that. Home price is around $275,000. So you have significant difference from the national average. Now, what's really great on taxes here, so we have a ton of retirees coming here because there is no tax on Social Security income, your 401k, or any of that. Payments from your IRAs or 401k is completely tax-free if you're over the age of 60. So definitely awesome benefit. Income tax. So we have the lowest flat tax rate of 3.07% income tax. But if you do live in the city of Pittsburgh, there's an extra 3%. So if you're living in the suburbs, you're only going to be at around 3.07%. If you're in the city, you're looking at 6.07% in income tax. Now, property tax is based upon the location and the assessed value of the property. How the equation really works is you're taking the county millage rate, you're adding the school millage rate, and the municipality millage rate, and then you're dividing that by 1,000. And these millage rates vary extremely very much. So throughout all of our suburbs, throughout all of our city neighborhoods, taxes are completely different. And we're going to do a video just separately on taxes. So subscribe so you don't miss that breakdown because it's going to be. I would say the rule of thumb for taxes here is about $3,000 per $100,000. Now, it could be a lot more, it could be a lot less, but that's basically a good rule of thumb to go by. That's assuming a 30 millage rate. So if you're $100,000, you're paying $3,000 a year in taxes. If you're at $300,000, you're paying $9,000 a year in taxes. Just a rule of thumb. And let's give you that example we spoke of, comparing the North Hills in Wexford to, say, Mars, which is in Butler County. So a home in Wexford, I actually have this written down because I took it straight from the MLS. $700,000 in McCandless, they're paying $10,000 a year in property tax, where a $700,000 home in Mars, they were paying $4,800 a year in property tax. So think about how that affects your monthly payment pretty significantly. You could get a lot more house for your money if you do end up going to these outskirts in the suburbs outside of Allegheny County. That's where you're really going to see the big advantage. But what I would take into consideration is your commute time, like wear and tear on your car, and if it's worth it. A lot of people find that it is because there's significant savings. And again, the added benefit of more options for new construction, land, and you're getting more house essentially for your money. So honestly, it's a good deal, and a lot of people choose to go that route. So if you guys are planning a move to Pittsburgh, reach out to us, write down our contact information. We'll have it here. Schedule a call. Let's go one-on-one, a lot more in depth with you based on exactly what you're looking for. I'm telling you, if you tell us a few things about what you like in an area, we could say you could cross this list off and you're going to focus on these neighborhoods here. And here's what the housing inventories looks like. And we'll go more in depth about the housing market in that area. But there's a lot of areas to choose from, as you could see, a lot of great suburbs. So it really comes down to you. Again, you're one call away from finding that dream neighborhood here in Pittsburgh. So reach out to the Living in Pittsburgh team anytime. And if you want to learn absolutely everything else about living in Pittsburgh, our real estate market, our suburbs, and new construction, you could start by watching our next videos that are popping up here. And we'll catch you in the next one.